This is the second video of the series Vesicle Trafficking in the Cells. In the first video of this series, we overviewed the biological context which exerts spatio-temporal control on vesicle formation. We then discussed broadly the steps involved in the process of vesicle formation. If you haven't watched the first video, we recommend watching that before starting this one to grasp fully the concepts explained here. This video provides greater focus on first event of vesicle formation, the selection of membrane regions where vesicle will need to be formed. In the previous video, we explained how adapters are central to the selection of membrane regions for vesicle formation. Classical adapters are heterotetramers having 4 different subunits. The trunk domain binds to membrane phosphoinositoid lipids and receptors via mu and beta subunits. The appendage domains, sometimes called airs, bind to accessory proteins. The hinge domain binds to colectin and terminal domains. So far, 5 members of tetrameric adapters have been discovered. Note that the gamma appendage domain in AP1 complex has only one subunit. AP1 is localized at trans-Golgi network and recycling endosomes and regulates bidirectional transport. AP2 is responsible for endocytosis of cargoes from the cell surface. AP3 is localized at trans-Golgi network and early endosomes and regulates transport to the late endosomes and lysosomes. AP4 is localized at trans-Golgi network and regulates cargo trafficking from trans-Golgi network to the early endosomes. Similarly, AP5 is localized at late endosomes and lysosomes, but the trafficking pathways it regulates is still unclear. Adapter proteins identify their target membranes via a specific phosphoinositide. In future, we will refer to phosphoinositoid as PI. Binding of AP2 to plasma membrane is facilitated by phosphorylated form of PI at positions 4 and 5 of its sugars. Each membrane has specific identity owing to different type of PI. For example, PI4P is predominantly enriched in trans-Golgi network membranes where it is required for binding of AP1 adapter. In the same manner, binding of AP2 adapter to plasma membrane is facilitated by PI45P2. Upon its binding to PI45P2, AP2 rearranges so that binding sites for cargo receptors become exposed. This leads to concentration of cargo receptor with appropriate endocytic signal in the area where cargo has to be endocytosed. When AP2 binds tightly to the membrane, it induces curvature, which favors binding of additional AP2 complexes in the vicinity. In PI sugar, there are 6 positions. On position 2, 3, 4, 5 and 6, there are hydroxyl groups that can in principle be modified. To date, phosphate additions have only been shown to be on positions 3, 4 and 5. A kinase can add phosphate groups while a phosphatase may remove them. For example, a PI4 kinase adds phosphate group to the carbon 4. PI4P production at TGN stimulates formation of both constitutive and regulated vesicles by recruiting AP1. SAC1, a PI4 phosphatase, has been shown to remove phosphate groups from carbon 4. Therefore, SAC1 accumulation at trans-Golgi network would downregulate anterograde trafficking. At plasma membrane, another kinase PI5K1 can bind to PI4P and add a phosphate group to carbon 5, producing a PI45P2. This in turn attracts AP2 to this site, which induces endocytosis. Association of adapter proteins to phosphorylated PIs is loose. However, this leads to more stronger binding of adapter to the cargo receptor later on. The combined activities of various isoforms of these PIKs and PI phosphatases provide dynamic equilibrium between the 7 distinct but interconvertible PI species. All these phosphorylated PI forms are active in their own right rather than serving as intermediate for synthesis of higher phosphorylated forms. PIPs regulate many fundamental processes in the cell, including membrane trafficking, cell growth, cytoskeleton remodeling, and nuclear events. However, our focus here is on their role in membrane trafficking. As opposed to the centralization of most lipid biosynthetic pathways in endoplasmic reticulum, in case of PIPs, ER only serves as production house of common precursor PI. Compartment-specific kinases have been shown to convert PIs into PI3P in early endosomes, phagosomes, phagoautosomal membranes, and into PI4P in trans-Golgi network membranes. PI4, 5P2 are present in clathrin-coated bits which will form endosomes. PI3, 5P2 lipids have been found in early and late endosomes. PI4, 5P2 may be further phosphorylated at carbon 3 of PI during phagocytosis. Compartment-specific phosphatases may have reversible effects. Phosphorylation and dephosphorylation is dynamic process and among other functions serve to change the identity of vesicle as they traffic through the cell. Here I recommend you to pause the video to surf through the flow diagram to make sense of how a vesicle identity would change as they bud off and fuse with destination membranes. Please note that much remains to be known with regards to the pathways that lead to addition and deletion of phosphate groups. Our understanding of these processes is fragmented as yet. ADP ribosylation factors ARF and other related monomeric GTPases serve to regulate vesicle formation. There are 3 classes of ARF GTPases. Class 1 and 2 ARFs localized to Golgi complex including trans-Golgi network. Class 3 are exclusively localized to plasma membranes and early and sorting endosomes. ARFs have an amphiphilic alpha helix. In GDP-bound state, their alpha helix is buried inside protein core. Guanidine exchange factor or GEF triggers release of GDP and binding of GTP. GTP binding triggers conformational change which exposes buried helix. Through the myristoyl group of alpha helix, ARF proteins tether themselves to the membranes. In membrane-bound form, ARF recruits GTPase activating proteins or gaps which catalyze hydrolysis of GTP into GDP, thereby changing ARF conformation into soluble form again. ARF GTPases are involved in assembly process of COP1 and clathrin-coated vesicles. Another category of monomeric GTPases, SAR1, induce COP2 vesicle formation at endoplasmic reticulum. One way in which they contribute to the process is by recruiting PI kinases to alter membrane identity in preparation for recruitment of adapter proteins. For instance, ARF1 has role in recruiting kinases in trans-Golgi network that converts PI into PI4P. ARF6 also has important role in production of PI45P2 from PI4P or PI5P at the sites of endocytosis. ARF1 has been shown to contribute in inducing curvature. Role of ARF6, however, has been proposed to be limited to only recruitment of kinases. COP2 vesicle formation at endoplasmic reticulum is initiated when inactive soluble SAR1 GDP binds to SAR1 GEF in ER membrane, causing SAR1 to release its GDP and bind GTP. A GTP-triggered conformational change in SAR1 exposes amphiphilic helix. which inserts into the cytoplasmic leaflet of the ER membrane. This, although not shown in these animations, initiates membrane bending. GTP-bound SAR1 binds to a complex of two COP2 adapter coat proteins called SEC23 and SEC24, which form the inner coat. SEC24 has several different binding sites for cytosolic tails of cargo receptors. The entire surface of the complex that attaches to the membrane is gently curved, matching the diameter of COP2 coated vesicles. A complex of two additional COP2 coat proteins called SEC13 and SEC31 forms the outer shell of the coat. Like clethin, they can assemble on their own into symmetrical cages with appropriate dimensions to enclose a COP2 coated vesicle. They select certain transmembrane proteins and cause the membrane to deform. The adapter proteins then recruit the outer coat proteins, which help form a bud. A subsequent membrane fusion event pinches off the coated vesicle. After the vesicle is pinched off, GTPase is activated by GAP, which causes disengagement of SAR1. This, however, does not disintegrate coat proteins in a fully formed vesicle due to many cooperative interactions between coat proteins and cargo receptors. Coat proteins accelerate GTP hydrolysis, which has important consequences for the vesicle formation. As GTP hydrolysis detaches SAR1 from endoplasmic reticulum membrane, for successful vesicle formation, it should only occur after the vesicle is fully formed. Premature activation of GTPase aborts process of vesicle formation. It has been proposed that GTPases work like timers, which hydrolyze GTP at slow but predictable rates. A full vesicle will be produced only when bud formation occurs faster than the timed disassembly process. Otherwise, disassembly will be triggered before a vesicle pinches off. In this case, the process will have to start again, perhaps at some more appropriate time and place. This ends our discussion of how membranes are selected for vesicle formation by different adapter proteins and how coat recruitment takes place. Please note that in some cases, membrane bending is intrinsically linked to binding of adapter proteins and monomeric GTPases. Many studies, however, indicate that these events alone may not be sufficient to induce curvature on their own. Several additional components of vesicle formation machinery participate in budding process, which will be discussed in our next video of this series. Thank you. Don't forget to subscribe and press the bell icon if you are interested to understand complex biological processes brought forth in the form of easy to understand, engaging graphics.